LITT, Logic, Ideas, Thoughts, and Theories by Mike Seko. Through the years, let's just say a lot of years, I've come up with a whole lot of ideas, and then just later on I'm seeing, wait a minute, they're doing what I thought of years and years ago. You know, why didn't I get a patent on that? Or why didn't I? Well, the reason could be a lot. It could be money. It could be too busy making a living than to pursue some idea that may or may not work. But an example of one of my ideas, you've probably seen OnStar. Okay, OnStar notifies if you're in a crash. It notifies authorities, and they send emergency people to take care of you, and that's all great. It seems like a nice, bright new idea where they use GPS to figure out where you are and communicate with authorities. The only thing is, I thought of this way back in the 60s. You know, I'm watching these Gemini manned space flights, and I'm thinking, well, geez, this is such beautiful technology, you know. And then I look under the hood of my car and I'm looking, this is the same old crap that's been around for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. It hasn't really changed much. You know, we could incorporate a lot of this high tech into these cars, and why haven't we done that? And this is back, like I say, in the early 60s. And then I thought, well, why not notify someone when someone's in a crash? Only my idea went a whole lot further than that. I thought, well, he could also analyze the car engine, say what's wrong. We say, well, we have that now. Sure, you know, they analyze the engine, say check engine. Okay, you open up the hood, there's the engine. Okay, there's the engine. It doesn't tell me near enough. Check engine light, you know. It should say, well, the engine, the third spark plug needs to be replaced, or a lot more specific than check engine. But anyway, that's just an example of one of my ideas that I've had long ago. Of course, they didn't have GPS at that time, global positioning satellites. But they could have easily been accomplished with triangulation on ground sources. But moving on, so what I'm doing is documenting some of the ideas that I have now that maybe sometime in the future they may come to be, and I will have proof of the date and the time that I thought of, hopefully long before it gets to market. So anyway, here's the first of my videos that will show some of my ideas and thoughts, and I'd like your comments and remarks, ridicule, whatever you prefer, and it's just all in fun. It's not anything serious, but my first video is going to be on waves. And let's move on to my chart. Get ahead of myself here. Okay. I always wondered about waves. You know, why you have a 5-foot wave, it comes to shore, it breaks, and it goes out. And this happens, every several per minute. And I wondered, well, you know, if you have a 5-foot tidal wave, it's still a 5-foot wave, but yet it doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. And I thought, why is that? You know, and I gave it some thought. And I'm sure, you know, everybody knew this, but I didn't. And I wonder, why is that? So I figured it out. And it's all in the wavelength. A normal wavelength, you know, from peak to peak, or trough to trough. You can see the wavelength is relatively short, and the dotted line represents the mean ocean level, not mean angry, but mean medium. And as you can see, I hashed in the area between the mean and the peak, and you can see there's not a whole lot of water in that area, and so when it gets to shore, it tends to curl over and followed right behind it by a trough. And so there's not a lot of water, and then it just goes back out and the next wave comes. Okay, now the big difference in a tsunami or tidal wave, and I'll move this down, is you can see the wavelength wavelength here really long, and this could be miles. It could be a lot longer than your normal wave. And here it represents the height between the trough and the peak. And you could see, because this tremendous wavelength, there's a whole lot of water in here. And so when this reaches shore, it's being pushed by all this water behind it, and it just keeps on coming and keeps on coming until finally it reaches a trough, and then it starts going back out. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on liquid waves. You know, so well, that's nothing. Everybody knows that. Well, okay, moving on to sound waves. It looks like a bunch of scribbles on a page. But I drew some sound waves represented by the black lines there. And, you know, I don't know if that's what sound really looks like, but it looks, you know, it has sharper peaks. And I thought, well, what would happen if we added sound? I mean, babies go to sleep, and if they get a sharp, sudden sound, they wake up. But normally they could sleep under a lot of noise, you know, as long as this noise is constant. It's the changing, it's the sudden stop of sudden noises that wake them up. You know, same thing, it annoys us, any noise, sudden noises. So I thought, what if we added sound that's complementary to the sound that's already there? We'll call it anti-sound or counter sound. And I have that represented by the red lines here. And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe it's just a bunch of hogwash, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. This is the idea that I come up with, and as far as I know, as far as I knew at the time, no one else thought about this. But as I found out later, that it has been thought of by other people, and now I'm seeing advertisements by Ford where they're actually putting sounds in their car to counteract sounds that's already there. So I guess it does work. Then I thought, well, wait a minute. Light also travels in waves. What if there was complementary light waves? And everyone's talking about, well, okay, they have stars at the edge of galaxies far away that seem to be moving way too fast to obey Newton's laws of physics. And I thought, well, they're moving way too fast. And they say, well, it's dark matter. There's some sort of dark force that's acting on them, and they think it's dark matter. It's matter that we can't see. Now, maybe, just maybe, we can't see it because there's anti-light or complementary light that's counteracting the light that is coming. And this is my thought for today, and it might be a bunch of hogwash, and it might be something that is. I don't know. We'll find out sometime in the future. But anyway, that's my video for today. Your comments, ridicule, suggestions are always welcome, and thank you for watching.